Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Coach Glenn Hill Show. I'm Hank Dietert. We have joining us Coach Glenn Hill, your head coach of the Navarro Panthers. And then we have Scott Kibbe, the Navarro football historian. And folks, I'm glad you could join us today, and especially you, Coach Hill. Um, Scott, anything new that we want to go into right away with Coach Hill?
I think it just, Coach, let you know that the Panthers have not been 2-0 since 2019. So it'd be our chance to
Really?
do something we hadn't done in years. Yeah. Now that team went 13-0, so
There you go.
might be a little more pressure, but
Yeah, no
not been able to
pressure,
do
no
the
pressure.
that's right. But
Well, we're gonna do
be
our
great
best
if
to go 2-0 here.
yeah, hope so. Yeah.
All right, Coach. So big win on your first game out for the Navarro Panthers, 39-22 over Forestville Tigers. So, you know, what are some of your takeaways in that game, and what did you see that really made you excited about this football team?
Yeah, I was just excited that it was a win that showed up in all three phases. It's just something that we preach over and over and over. Offense, defense, special teams. We all have to rely on each other all the time. There might be a night that the offense isn't clicking. Well, defense step up, and vice versa. And same with special teams. Those special teams plays, those 6 points count just the same as if we score on offense. So it was nice to see us execute on offense. Defense played phenomenal the whole night. Five takeaways, which is really, really huge. And then special teams as well. We blocked a kick. We returned a kickoff for a touchdown. To have all three phases have a little taste of success in week one was nice to see.
Scott?
Coach, obviously, team's still kind of getting started, but has anything surprised you about the team so far?
Surprise might not be the right word, but just their work ethic, just their ability to stick with it, learning all new schemes and systems, and just interacting with new people is difficult in any aspect of life, let alone playing football. And for these guys to get, five, six new coaches on their staff and learn to interact with them and learn how they operate and work, that's been what stuck out to me the most. They work really, really hard. We never have to push our guys for effort or anything like that. We've all seen teams that are super talented, but man, they just can't get it done. They don't have good effort. Our kids play with effort. Our kids practice with effort. And I think that's a testament to this community and previous coaching staffs for building up something great. So that's been really nice to see. And then just for them to lean into it, all the different changes and stuff, they've picked it up really, really well. And we still have a long way to go offensively and defensively with our schemes, but we're taking good strides every single day. We're trying to stack a day on top of the next one and just get a little bit better every single day. So while we got a way to go, they really have improved a whole lot here.
All right, Coach. Any players that stand out from this last game against Floresville that you would give kudos to?
I'd like just shout out the entire offensive line if I could, and that's every single one of them that played. I think we won the trenches, and Floresville was really, really good up front defensively. We saw that coming in with their scrimmage tape, and sometimes the offensive line is the last group to kind of click. They have some rules and some variables that other positions may not have, and in my opinion, that's the hardest job in sports is playing offensive line. And for those guys, we weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but they played really, really well. They opened up some holes for our running backs and our quarterbacks in the run game. And then just defensively, we had five takeaways. Um, I don't know the stats on that, but I'd like to think you have a good chance to win a game if you have five takeaways. Luke Vogel had a pick six. Julius De Leon had an interception. Kale Scott had an interception. Evan Rodriguez had an interception. Dylan Trotty had an interception. The list goes on and on for guys stepping up to make plays on defense. And just something we always try to preach to them. When that moment comes for you to make the play, capitalize. You only get so many chances for that. And I think for the most part, we did a good job. When the plays presented themselves, they capitalized on those moments.
Yeah.
All right, so Coach, moving on, you take on Antonian this week, the Antonian Apaches. They barely squeaked by Holy Cross, which isn't,
Mhm.
a pushover, that's for sure. So
No,
you're
that
going
was
to
a good
go up
game.
against a very tough Antonian team. And so, what are some of the challenges they present to you?
Absolutely. It's things that stick out on film is Coach Fushak and his staff. They do a great job. They're very well coached. They're not making any mental mistakes. Antonian's not going to beat themselves. It's not going to be, man, they just had a bunch of mental blows and things like that. We're going to have to go out there and beat them if we want to win this game. It's not going to be self-inflicted wounds by them. Their quarterback's extremely dynamic. I feel like I was saying this time last week about the last quarterback, but this one's the same exact way. There's not a throw on the field that he cannot make. He's got a big time live Saturday afternoon arm. He'll be playing at the next level, I bet, here very soon. And he's got some receivers to dish it out to. And they're really efficient with their offense, and their defense is the same exact thing. You know, they have a good front seven. Safeties are really active in the run game as well. And they're able to leave their corners out on islands sometimes. They have two really, really talented corners that they feel comfortable with, and rightfully so, leaving them on islands in one-on-one situations, which allows them to play some games on their defense and bring some pressure.
Yeah, well, we remember that quarterback Rogan Parsons, I believe his name, from last year. He ate us up. Your players ought to remember. I think both. It seemed like both the run and the pass. He seems to, uh,
Yeah.
be a pretty good threat at. I mean, that kind of can talk about the challenges that presents when you have a quarterback who's that mobile and that versatile.
Yeah, it's no joke. We weren't the only ones that he diced up a little bit last year. So credit to him. He's a great player, and they have some really great schemes. But for us, it's just trusting our assignments. We got to play assignment football. We can't go out of the way and try to do somebody else's job. Our players just have to trust that the other 10 guys on the field are going to do exactly what their job is. Therefore, I can do my job. And if we can all do that and pull the rope in the same direction, that'll give us a chance to slow them down, hopefully on offense.
All right, Coach. So, what do we have to do at Navarro to be successful in offense against Antonian? What are some of the points that our fans would like to hear? How are we going to attack Antonian?
Right. Part of that is we've got some really talented playmakers, and we got to get the ball in their hands in space. That's what all football is all about. When you break it down to its simplest form, it's how can we get the football into a talented guy's hands in space. So we've got some different ways to do it. We run a few run schemes that, if we know our rules and we block our rules correctly, then we'll have chances for our running backs to get some creases in there. And same thing with the receivers. Got some really talented guys on the outside, and we need to just take what the defense gives us. The quarterbacks will have some options to where maybe a run play is called and there's a pass tag out to the left and a different pass out to the right. And we're going to put a lot of trust in the quarterbacks, which we have total, complete trust in all of them to make the right decision. Let's see how they line up and take what the defense gives us. And we don't need to force anything. If they're giving us a quick game, hopefully we can exploit that. And if they're playing softer in the secondary, then hopefully they can make some correct decisions and we can hand the football off. Just need to do what we do and try to execute that at a high level.
Scott, you have
Which is
anything to add?
Yeah, it was just encouraging. I think seeing Caden Chambers come in the second half of last week's game with some good yards, good running. Just how important is it to kind of develop some depth in the backfield.
Oh, it's huge. All of our guys play both sides of the football. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast. When you've got less than 40 guys on your varsity roster, they have to step up and execute when their time is called. Caden, I'm not sure if he got many reps in the first quarter, but then he got thrust in there, and I see the stats popping up at the bottom, rushed for nearly 60 yards, and he was just a hammerhead. He was on his path, and he was making decisive cuts, wasn't trying to dance around, and finishing runs really physically as well, which is something that, anytime we get an extra 2 or 3 yards, we'll take it. We'll take every single yard we can get. He stepped up and had an impact. We had some young receivers, Evan and Hudson are the guys that run out there first right now. And we had Emerson Elder and Brody Zeller, some younger guys step up and perform really, really well. Whether or not they're getting touches is beside the point. That they're stepping in there and doing their jobs. And same thing goes with Braddock Galini, great player for us, but Colin Geipel is stepping in, Hudson Stadler is stepping in. We've got guys stepping into roles and not taking a drop off. And I think that's the really big thing. As a coaching staff, we trust whoever we put in. We don't have to scratch out any plays on the call sheet. They're all callable with whoever we have in the game.
One thing, Coach, you talked about your offensive line, but this is something kind of unique that we're seeing this year. Is I pointed out during the broadcast is that how well your wideouts are blocking. It makes a huge difference when your wide receivers are out there blocking, either kicking out or
Yeah.
sealing, and allowing your running backs to get to the outside. We saw Trotty get to the outside quite often. And do you think this is something that you'd be able to build on against Antonian?
It's definitely a philosophy that we're trying to build upon, and our receivers know the mantra here: no block. They got to be able to block in the running game for them to be featured in the passing game as well. Most of our passing game is predicated off of the run game, play action passes or RPOs and things of that nature. So they have to be able to block third level defenders. Safeties are such a force in the run game now. Just the way defenses are adapting these days, those defensive coaches, they can draw up some pretty sick ways to get safeties involved in the run fits, and we have to account for them. We can't just let them run free and make play after play. So whether that's with motions or RPOs or just going up there and getting some blocks, the receivers are expected to do that, and they've bought fully into it, and they do a great job with that.
Yeah, now, coach. Now, what was the point of emphasis, on for your defense this week in practice? Um, we know their quarterback Parson
Mm-hmm.
has a lot of ability to get out of the pocket and always look downfield and make
Yep.
the big throws. So, what was some of the points of emphasis this week in defense?
Right, right. He's got an extremely quick release, and so much of their passing game comes off of him catch and release. So just gonna have to trust our base defense, and obviously we have some wrinkles and different adjustments in the secondary, but for the most part, no matter what coverage you're in, whether it's cover two, cover four, cover three, whatever we're in, at the end of the play, I'm covering a man, whether he crossed into my zone or I'm in straight man the whole snap. We just got to win some individual battles and have to rely on our front four, which has been playing really great to get some pressure on him. We don't want him just to be standing around in the pocket getting too comfortable. Have to be able to get some heat on him, whether that's with blitzing or just with our front four, trying to get some pressure. And then, like you mentioned, he can extend plays, and that's when he might be the most dangerous. He's got an ability to flush out to the right or left and keep his eyes down the field. And in a half a second, he flicks that thing out, and I feel like it's on a frozen rope wherever he's throwing it. So, got to trust our contain, got to trust our rules and our gaps, and try to keep him contained in the pocket for the most part.
Scott, you have anything to add?
Just in any area you particularly want to get better in this week, right? I know you've got time before district starts, but anything you really think, this is something we need to be pushing.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a time limit to the show or not, but we got plenty of stuff that we got to get better at. Just the
Yeah.
basic stuff, we're a firm believer in we're going to try to do what we do better than they do what they do. We're not going to try to reinvent the wheel every single week. You're not going to see us come out and run different schemes offensively or different schemes defensively. We just got to keep chipping away. And I think we took a really good step last Friday. Is that the finished product? No, it's not. It's not going to be. The coaching staff knows that. The kids know that we still have a huge amount of room for growth in all aspects of it. So we just got to keep doing what we're doing and come to work every single day ready to improve.
All right, coach, you touched on this a little bit. On special teams, you had a big play, but you also had a costly mistake.
We did.
What are some of the focal points for the special teams for this week?
Right, special teams, it needs to be a weapon for us, and that's something that our kids are buying into. Our staff definitely believes in it. We got to make all of those plays we're out there for special teams. It's an opportunity. Every single one of them is an opportunity play to swing momentum, and a lot of it comes down to just knowing basic assignments and then communication. That's all that was. We muffed a punt, and nobody meant to muff the punt. I'm sure the kids out there, not a person in Floresville, Texas wanted that to happen less than our kids that were out there. So I know it's not an intentional thing, but it all boils down to communication. We didn't communicate well, and we're not playing with the round ball, so sometimes it hits the ground and takes funky bounces, and that happened to us. So we were guilty of that, and we learned from it. We watched the film, and you can bet we've been working on it this week. So hopefully that's something that shows up here on Friday night that we've improved.
Scott, anything you'd like to ask before we go to the keys?
I I guess is talk about the kickoff return though. I mean, we hadn't seen one of those in 2 years. Is that something you guys have really been working on, trying to set something like that up? Something you saw, maybe something you saw in Floresville's coverage.
No, it really is. Absolutely. We work kickoff every single special teams unit. We treat it just like an offensive play or a defensive play. We have coaches that are the head of the kickoff return unit or the head of the punt team unit, and we devote a whole lot of time to it, and we expect to have big plays in those moments. So it wasn't shocking. And really, the first kickoff return, we were one slip away from having another really big hole. But really, all the guys just did their assignments and they understood leverage, and that's so big in special teams is leverage of where do I need my block to end up, and that allowed for Evan Rodriguez to find the hole, and he hit it, and we had a really great play.
All right, Coach. Last question here. You said you had your three keys most of the time, but if there was anything different for this week, let us know. But I still want to know your three keys to victory for this game against Antonian.
Sure, the explosive battle is going to be big. They've been a team that they thrive on the explosives offensively. That quarterback and receivers, running backs, they've got a bunch of them. So a big key for us defensively is to win third downs. Need to get them off the field in those third and mediums. I feel like they're really really efficient in the third and 5 to 8 range. Which if we can get off the field in that category, that would be huge. Now that's easier said than done. There's been a lot of teams that have gotten them into a third and 7 and they convert it. So we're really going to have to just trust our rules defensively and understand that they've got good players and we need to do our best to contain them. And there's no doubt in our minds that we're going to go out there and try to play a great game on defense again. So we're going to play a bunch of talented teams all year long. So we don't need to dwell on that. We need to go out and we're a talented team as well. So I need to go out and execute defensively, get them off the field. Offensively, it'd be nice to see us establish the run game, much like we did last week. We need to be able to efficiently run the football against all different fronts. And they'll give us a few wrinkles that we didn't see last week. So, can we communicate? And then, special teams. It's going to come down to some of those big plays that maybe are unexpected, but some really timely special teams plays can help us out. But yeah, you're right. Those three keys of explosives, takeaways, and special teams are always going to be something I go back to.
All right. Well,
Well, I think
that's
I
all I
think
have.
I think we're all looking forward to your first home game. Maybe our last opener again, probably at Irwin Lee Field. But is it like last week we talked about managing the emotion? I know the kids are going to be very excited. Should be a big crowd. I'm betting the Irwin Lee is going to be packed. But are you, you talk to the kids about that, and how do you think they'll respond?
I hope they're excited about it. And I hope we have a big crowd. And I've heard about the crowds at Irwin Lee Field and how it's a really great environment. My only experience so far has been the scrimmage a couple weeks ago, and that was a great crowd for a scrimmage. So I'm really excited. I know our kids are fired up to play in that atmosphere, and that's why they put in all the work. Getting up here at 6 in the morning for practice is not all that fun. And we tell them all the time that there's nobody in the stands watching us at 6 a.m. But I bet there's not an empty seat here on Friday night.
Okay, Coach, that'll wrap it up. And again, thanks for joining us. And folks, we hope you get to enjoy the show here. We'll get it out for pregame and it'll be out on Geronimo-Zorn TV. And Scott, we can find his information with the Seguin Gazette as a special correspondent as well. So, and Coach Hill, again, many, many thanks. Go Panthers.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you,
guys.
Coach.
Go Panthers.